Hey guys, welcome back to the Anne's POV podcast. My name is Rian, and I'm so glad to have you guys here with me today. So let's get into today's episode. So, as always, I want to start off with a little life update. So, you guys know I've been in the process of moving for like this whole past month. Like, we closed like a couple weeks ago, so now we're like officially moving. A lot of our furniture is coming in, and like this past weekend, we went appliance shopping, like kitchenware and all that stuff. And I'm just like a little overwhelmed by it all just because like now like it's me actually adulting because I feel like once you live on your own, you're just like, you know, technically in the real world with like all the adult responsibilities. So yeah, I'm honestly super overwhelmed, but at the same time I'm actually super excited because we get to like decorate the place the way that we want it to and have like little bits and pieces of like things that we like. I know my sister's doing a whole series, so just like tap into that, then you guys can see like it's and bits of our home once we move. Um, Anywho, besides that, January was honestly the longest month of my life. I feel like January was just way too long in general. There's just so much going on, and I was so happy that it was done. Like, I didn't even realize it was February till like this morning. Anywho, I am super excited for February. There's so much like good things coming in February. I've honestly just been working a lot and also prepping for this new place. And if you guys don't know, me and my sisters are moving in together, which is super exciting. Um, and yeah, I feel like it's gonna be really fun. But honestly, I wish I can just snap my fingers and the new place would just be ready for us to move in. But obviously, that's just not the case, and I have to pack and get things moving, which is a lot of work that I'm not looking forward to. And I'll be honest about that. And honestly, I'm ready for life to kind of go back to the way it was because obviously, with a million things happening at once, life can be a little hectic, even when you have rot days or any of that, um, which I honestly do. But just like going back to a regular schedule, especially a gym schedule, because I'll be honest, I've been like skipping the gym like most of the week, at least for these past like 2 weeks, and I need to get back into it. Like, I need to really get back into the grind because I used to go to like the gym maybe like 4 or 5 times a week, and now I'm going like, I'm gonna say 2 to 3 days out of the week. And honestly, I miss it. I miss working out pretty consistently. Um, so it's gonna be interesting getting back into it, especially after quite a while of just like half-assing my workouts. And on top of that, I just want to like get back into like my health grind and focusing on my overall general health. That is including mental health, spiritual health, the whole shebang. Anywho, I will keep you guys updated on that, but let's get into today's episode. So, I kind of wanted to talk about choosing your own career path or figuring it all out because I kind of struggled with that in the beginning when I was maybe like 17, 18, applying for college. And there's just so many options, and there's always like external factors that like influence you to go a particular way when genuinely you don't even know. So, when I was younger, I was good at science and math and all of that. Um, and I did like it, right? Like, obviously, because I got a degree in science or whatever. But honestly, I was always considering myself like a logical person or a non-creative person, and that's mainly because that's what I was like exposed to. And I went to a school that really did focus on that. Like I did science fair since I was in second grade. Like every single year I did science fair, mostly because it was mandatory for some reason, but I also somewhat liked it. But that's like why I kind of like imagine myself as more of a logical person, because we didn't do a lot of like arts and crafts, we didn't do a lot of literature, writing, any of that, like nothing creative in that sense. um and a lot of my free time, I would just like hang out with friends, family, or watch TV. And let me just say, I watched a lot of TV even in high school. Like my favorite activity outside of hanging out with my friends was watching a bunch of movies. um but yeah, like honestly, people are gonna ask, oh, like, what are you gonna do when you grow up? What are you gonna do when you grow up? And people tend to start asking that question when you're around 5 or something, right? And for me, the reason why I was so drawn to science and math and all of that was because everything that I was learning then was very predictable. Like, it was just a bunch of memorization, um, that I just had to take note of. And when it came to math, like 2 plus 2 equals 4, like 2 plus 2 cannot equal 5, right? So it was just like, that just made sense to me. That was just more of a secure way to go. So I was like, okay, how do I pick a career path from this? And that's kind of like why I even lean more towards the sciences, right? Because I thought that it was going to be very predictable, which I was wrong. I was very, very wrong. When I started college and I was like doing all these like crazy genetics classes, um, yeah, there was a lot of memorization that I had to do, but then a lot of them was like comprehension skills, right? Like you have to like come up with possible solutions, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You have to come up with a whole new solution. And I feel like at first it was driving me crazy. Like I really struggled my first year of college. Like I was really going through it then, and that's just mainly because a lot of the work I was doing was creative work. And since I didn't want to put in a lot of the effort, because I had that mentality that 2 plus 2 equals 4. But in all these genetic classes where I had to come up with solutions for problems that we don't have solutions for as of right now, it was very difficult for me because I never thought of myself as a creative person, because I didn't identify with that. Like I always thought that I was the logical person, and if I was a logical person, I couldn't be the creative person. And as a very anxious girl, like being anxious girly, it was very hard for me to kind of lean into it more because it was so unpredictable to me. So I did keep myself in those boxes, right? Like, yeah, you're the one that's good at science, you're the one good at finance, you're the pre-med girl, right? Which is why I'm not very fond about labels, just because of the fact that sometimes when I identify with one, I try to keep myself within that label. What makes sense to me in that label, you know what I mean? But there was also times where I tried to be more creative, right? I was so into creative writing when I was like junior high, into high school. Like I loved creative writing. I took a lot of English courses where I had to do a lot of creative writing, and I really enjoyed it. But also it did scare me in so many different ways because of that uncertainty, right? And on top of that, I decided to stop with all like the creative hobbies that I had when I was kind of shifting between high school and college, because I was like, now I need to get serious. Like, you got to be logical. You have to focus on your career, right? And that logical image for me was to stick with classes. Like, there was a time where I even took classes over the summer, and I was just so consumed with academics where I had no time for any of my hobbies, including even like hanging out with my friends at some point. And there's times where I tend to just like shut off my brain and just like get through things. And that's what I did for so many years until I kind of realized I was limiting myself when it came to versatility, right? Because there's so many different versions of us. Like, we like to do so many different things. There's a variety of things that I like to do now. And if I was still in that mindset of you chose this path, you have to stick with it for the rest of your life, then I wouldn't even be back on socials. I wouldn't be doing photography. I wouldn't be writing articles on Medium, even though a lot of people don't even read those. But, I do it for me, and that's like the craziest part. And another like major thing is I wouldn't even be doing this podcast if I was still in that mindset of I have to pick one career path and that is who I am for the rest of my life. And honestly, the crazy part is that it's something that we were taught from such a young age, is to pick a career, go to school, stay in your lane and climb the ladder. Like, that was standard traditional career path mindset, which honestly sounds secure in a sense, right? Like, okay, you just have to make this one big decision and just stay in that lane for the rest of your life. But I feel like it just doesn't leave a lot of room for self-discovery and growth. And if we know like typical work schedules is a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and you get 2 days to kind of recover from that, and a lot of the times, you want to hang out with family, friends, just like, recover from the week. And I'm not quite fond about traditional career path because it's like pick one skill and stick with it for the rest of your life. And when it comes to that, you tend to miss out on a lot of opportunities to like expand your skill set, to find more experiences, and to just like feel more fulfilled with life. Because at the end of the day, we're not robots. Like, we can't just crunch numbers all day, go home at like 5 or 6, and then do it all over again tomorrow. And that's kind of like how I see like the traditional career path in that light, you know what I mean? There's like this new idea that's getting more and more popular in, I guess, like this generation, and it's the idea of having a career portfolio. And I feel like that just allows you to be more versatile because you have so many different skill sets, which honestly allows you to work in so many different things and do things that you enjoy. Because I'm one of those people that gets tired of something so quickly. Like, everything's fun the first time you do it, but once you do it for like a year or so and every day starts looking the same, like, you're kind of bored of it, right? You want to move on. That's just like a me thing. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but yeah, I kind of like the idea of versatility and like having different seasons in your life, because I don't plan on working in one field for the rest of my life. I don't even think I have the mental capacity for that. I think the longest I've worked at a single job is about a year and a half, which honestly sounds crazy. And I know it sounds crazy, but it's also like looking at it whether or not it's benefiting you a lot more in comparison, right? Like, is this work really fulfilling? Is it benefiting you financially, right? Because sometimes you gotta stick through it a little bit longer because it's really helping you financially and allowing you to like figure it out again, you know what I mean? And honestly, as a 21-year-old, I feel like the biggest thing for me is, if I'm not learning and if I'm not growing here, then I need to go. Like, that is how I feel about things. And like, sometimes I do hang out a little bit longer, but I do try to look for other things that I can possibly do that I will enjoy and will be more fulfilling and also allow me to grow and learn. Because let's be real, like, when you're in your 20s, a lot of the time you're figuring it out and you're just trying so hard to like see what you like, what you don't like, and find something that's very fulfilling for you, and like finding your purpose. And that's what I'm doing right now. And I feel like the more I gather like all these different skills and experiences and different passions as well, because like you don't just have one passion, right? It just makes me more adaptable to so many different situations and makes me open for so many different opportunities. Because right now, if I get a job in something I never thought that I would possibly do, I'm gonna take it. Why? Because that opportunity presented itself to me. Why not take it? Maybe there's something there for me. And that's just like the way that I like to think about things. So for this episode, I just thought it'd be fun to like update my resume, just to like see how these past couple of years have been for me. And honestly, my resume is pushing 3 pages. And that's just because I keep on trying different things. So when I was like 18, after I quit my like high school job, I went into clinical setting, right? Like I worked as a clinical assistant for a year and a half ish, something like that. But that's where I started. And then after a while, when things started being very repetitive, and I thought that I can learn more somewhere else, which is honestly the reason that I left. And I started working in research, which was absolutely fun. I honestly learned so much working in both of those labs. Like I worked in agriculture and I also worked in women's health, which is like two fields that are completely different. And I enjoyed both of them. I got my first publication at one of these labs and I had a good time, but I was still kind of like restricting myself because with a biology degree, with a genetics degree, um, there's like two main career paths that people usually take. And it's either getting a PhD and pursuing research for the rest of your life or getting an MD or all of that stuff. And I was kind of like debating between the two for such a long time because, yes, I really loved science. But then I was also like, I want to explore different things, which is why I took time off in the first place, to find new hobbies because before I didn't have many hobbies. I started a business with my sister. I started learning a lot about photography and stuff like this. So I'm just trying to like expand my skill set outside of science just so I can like kind of bounce between the two. And for the ways things have turned out this past year, how I didn't get accepted for medical school, so now I have to wait for a whole nother cycle to apply again. So it's like another year that I'll be at home. So I was just like, okay, like maybe I should use this time to do something else, right? Take a break from the whole science scene because I've been doing it for a little bit over 2 years and I enjoyed it, but it's like, okay, now I want to try other things. I want to explore different parts of myself that I never knew before. So instead of just like sticking to the things I know, I really want to push myself to build my career portfolio even more and pick up other skills that I might be interested in, right? And maybe like something like one of these skills would produce something in my future that I can be like, okay, like this is something that I want to pursue for now. But I feel like life is never stagnant. I know I said this before, but just the idea of like being able to do the same thing over and over and over again for the rest of my life just doesn't seem appealing to me at all. And I feel like in different phases of life, we have different interests and we have like different things that we want to do. Instead of just like like choosing a career path, having one or two hobbies that you're going to do for the rest of your life and retire at 60, then go fishing or something. Like I don't really like that idea. I don't think I buy it because I'm like, as humans, not only are we very logical, but we're very creative. There's so many different things that each individual person is interested in and wants to pursue. And just like being able to give yourself the space and time to do that and explore different things is so key. Like, I don't want to just be known as the pre-med girl. I don't want to be known as a girl that's good at science and math. I want to literally do everything that I want to do on my bucket list. And that includes being an entrepreneur. That includes writing. It includes photography and so many other things. And let me just be clear, like if I'm really into writing this year, right, and I'm just like going crazy on the keyboard, maybe in 5 or 6 years I won't be interested in it anymore. And that is totally fine. Like I don't have to force myself to like the same things that I liked 5, 6 years ago. But just being open to that change is extremely crucial at this point because I feel like once you stop learning something new or challenging yourself, that's when life just becomes meaningless. And I don't want to have to live a meaningless life. Like I want to be present every moment, have purpose every single day, and honestly just challenging myself because like maybe I won't be doing this podcast or what I'm doing today in 5 or 6 years, but that's totally fine because I might be doing something completely different that is very fulfilling to me at that time. And for me, once I started doing all of these hobbies that I have, I feel like it was just so good for my mental health because it was something challenging for me. It was something different that I usually don't do. And once I started doing that, every day was different, every day was fun, and I was working towards a goal, you know what I mean? Anywho, I feel like that's why I like the book The Alchemist so much, because it was about following your dreams and finding your purpose and being able to fulfill it during your lifetime, because we're just here for a short period of time. So why not do everything that we wanted to do while we're here? And it's just good to remember that we're all human, right? Humans don't like to just do one thing and one thing only. Like, if I were sitting around adding stamps, right, at some point I'm going to get tired of it. At some point, I want change. And when that change happens, you're going to get a dopamine hit. Why? Because it's something different that you never tried before. And it's good to be disciplined on certain skills that you find really exciting or very interested in. And discipline will help you build your skills even more. But versatility is also key. Being able to do more than just one trick, you know what I mean? And as I mentioned before, like, I don't like to just stick around when I'm not growing somewhere, right? Like, if I'm just sitting at a desk or a lab or a bench, whatever it is, and I'm doing the same thing over and over again, and I felt like I wasn't going anywhere, I just knew that I needed to leave. So honestly, these past couple years, I really realized that a career path is not a linear thing, especially when you are younger, in your late teens to early 20s, because like this is such a crucial time for self-discovery. So it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to pick a career path that's not necessarily traditional. Um, and you just got to do you at the end of the day. My biggest issue was I did have a 20-year plan when I was like, I'm gonna say 13. Like, I was really just like curating this life plan for myself. And when things didn't start like going my way, it was just adding more stress to my day. And once I let go of, the 20-year plan that I had, then I honestly started living a little bit more. Because for me, I was supposed to graduate college, go to med school, then I would go off to a residency in the specific field I wanted. And I chose dermatology when I was 13. And obviously my interests have changed, and I'm honestly open to anything. And even though I do still plan on applying again to medical school, I also want to be known for other things, right? I want to be known for my writing. I want to be known as an entrepreneur. I want to basically blaze my own path, because I don't really like the idea of a traditional career path where I'm retired at 60. It's just not something that I want. And I feel like when it comes to just like sticking with one thing and staying in your lane, you're choosing to be content, right? And it's okay to be content with your career choices. It's okay to be content with everything, but I also want to choose to be happier, right? And I feel like I'm the most happiest when I'm being challenged in all aspects of my life. And that's what I want for myself. So yeah, don't be afraid to take that risk. Don't be afraid about the outcome. It's all about the journey, honestly, because we don't take any of this with us when we die, so it doesn't really matter. Just enjoy what you're doing. And there's not just like a one size fits all when it comes to finding your career and your passion. And that's the beauty of it all, because everybody's just so different and they have so many crazy interests. And honestly, that's what makes a functional society, and that's what makes a functional human, is to be more versatile and to be creative in all aspects of life. So yeah, don't confine yourself to a box or a label. And just be open to everything, because you'll never know what you'll find out about yourself, and it could literally change your life. Anywho, before I end this episode, I wanted to leave you guys with a quote. And this quote is by Mark Twain. He said, "The two most important days in your life are the day that you are born and the day you find out why." Let's just let that sink in for a moment. Anywho, Thank you guys so much for joining me today. If you guys like this episode, please leave a comment and review. I love hearing from you guys. And if you enjoy this podcast, feel free to share this with your friends and family. I would honestly truly appreciate that. For everyone who reached out about my new cover art, I just wanted to say thank you. I put a lot of work into that. And honestly, I wasn't like planning to change the cover art for my podcast, but I did that self-portrait, and I was like practicing my skills on Photoshop, and it worked out. And I also wanted to mention that my podcast is now available on YouTube. It is only audio still, but it's still fun just putting it on there. If you guys ever want to connect, I am on the majority of all the social media platforms at Rian's POV. Thank you guys again for joining me this week, and I will see you guys in the next episode.